Hello, welcome to Dungeon Wars Podcast. I'm your host Justin. Today for Fantasy Month, which this is our second to last review. I actually went out and bought a movie instead of just trying to watch whatever I could find and review online. I actually got this movie for a good deal. Today we're reviewing obviously 2006 Eragon. I actually got it. I got the Blu-ray, and I got for it was part of a deal for 2 for 6, so I bought that with where is it? Chronicles of Narnia, also a Blu-ray, so that was cool. And I bought those two together. Oh, sorry, this is a DVD. Sorry, I thought it was a Blu-ray. My bad. Yeah, I bought those together for $6, which is a pretty good deal. So this movie is a notoriously bad movie. It came out in 2006, like I mentioned, and people fucking hated this movie. And despite the fact that it made like 250 million, which was a big deal for 2006, it still didn't get sequels made, even though it's part of a quadrilogy. 4 books written by Christopher Paolini. Despite the fact that that book was popular when I was a kid, I refused to read it because, well, one reason was because reading books was for nerds, and reading comic books at the time were cool. Now it's the complete opposite because comic books are paused, and if you want to read non-pause shit, you have to read books from over 50 years ago, like Robert Heinlein books and Dune, which is Dune is very base and red-pilled. If you ever read the Dune books, except for some of the later books, where then it gets a little iffy. Like there's like like the Emperor when Paul's son becomes God Emperor, he has like this all female army, and like a good portion of them are fucking lesbians. The other portion the other part of the army is fucking Duncan Idaho clones. As part of a breeding program or some fucking shit. Yeah, the later Dune books get fucking weird, guy. Oh my god. Yeah, but we're not here to talk about Dune. So this is directed by Stefen Fangmeier, who I'm told was a special effects guy who was given, this job to direct this movie. And you have screenwriter. The screenwriter is Peter Buchman. I have no idea what other movies he's done. The stars from the movie are Ed Speleers as Eragon, who apparently, according to videos I saw, apparently he's a bodybuilder now. So he went from scrawny teenager to like swole. You got Jeremy Irons as Brom, Robert Carlyle as Durza, the evil sorcerer, Digimon Hanzo as Alijad, and you have what's his name? Garrett Hudlin as Murloc, I think his name is, and you have, I didn't write that down, I ran out of space, and you have John Malkovich as Gorbatrox, and Rachel Weiss does the voice for the Sahira, the female dragon. So the story for this movie is basically fantasy Star Wars. And that's one of the reasons why I never checked it out as a kid, because like apparently people said the book was written by the guy was like 15 when he wrote the book, and like it had this feel like the guy just read like watched Star Wars for the first time and just wrote a fantasy book of it. But basically, the world of Eragon is basically instead of Jedi, there are dragon riders. Dragon riders are kind of like these warriors who not just ride dragons, but they can also perform magic. And the magic system in this movie is a lot like the magic system from Earthsea, Tales from Earthsea, where if you know the ancient words for things, like the dragon riders can perform magic. Like there's magic spells where they can control trees and vines, obviously shoot fire. There's even a magic spell for healing, right? In a lot of ways, these dragon riders are probably more powerful than the Jedi, if you think about it. Yeah, so these dragon riders were supposed to be defenders of the realm, but one dragon rider went evil, caused a civil war, and killed pretty much all the dragon riders and dragons. The resistance, called the Verdine, have stumbled upon a dragon egg that they stole from Gorbatrox, and he sends his shade sorcerer after him. Shade sorcerers are basically evil spellcasters who sold their souls to demons or possessed by demons, so they can't die unless they're struck through the heart. And though something I don't get, he had several times, Durza, played by Robert Carlyle, makes himself immaterial. He just shit just phases through him like smoke or whatever. So when spoiler alert, Eragon finally kills him, is he only able to do that because he has a magic sword that he got from his teacher Brahm, who's a former dragon rider, who's basically the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this movie. Of course, there's the Obi-Wan Kenobi, but whatever. The Verdun, who's led by this small group, is led by this female character named Arya. So a couple of the characters I noticed are named after Game of Thrones characters. So I was kind of wondering, is there a connection? But there probably isn't. It's just a coincidence, right? She gets captured, but before she gets captured, she magically teleports the dragon egg and happens to fall in the hands of our main character, Eragon, who's played by Ed Speleers. That's funny. I always assumed Eragon was the name of the dragon whenever I saw the books, because it says it's Eragon, and then you have the book covers is this dragon, right? So I just always assumed the dragon was named Eragon. That and the fact that Eragon is very similar to dragon. It's pretty much the same word instead of a D instead of an E. But what I was mistaken, right? So the dragon egg is sent to our main character, who originally tries to sell it off to a butcher to get some steak, pretty much, and the guy turns them down. And eventually, what happens is he meets up. The dragon hatches from its egg. It grows up extremely fast, which is one of the criticisms for this movie. And he meets up with Brahm, and they go off to meet the Verdun. But our main character, gets trained by Brahm, gets tricked by the henchman of the main villain, Gorbatrox, and gets his teacher killed, but meets up with the lady Arya and Murtagh, who turns out to be the son of a traitor dragon rider. So I kind of like that kind of, you have this character who's trying to redeem himself, who's played by Garrett Hedlund, who is the star of Tron Legacy, if you ever saw that movie. And what ends up happening is they eventually get to the Verdun. The Gorbachev sends his army, led by Durza, who at this point in the movie, for some reason, he gets to, like, he starts changing and looks more and more like the Emperor. Like, even has, like, bad teeth, and he's like, his, like, eyes are yelling and shit. It's like he totally looks like the Emperor from Star Wars at the end of this movie. And there's a final fight where it totally looks like people are play fighting, but then you get this really cool Dragon Rider fight between our main character, who gets new armor. Even his dragon gets fucking armor. And he fights Durza, who creates a dragon out of smoke. And they have this huge fight where, like, there's a clever callback to where, like, the first time the main character ride his dragon, he was riding on the tail because he couldn't hold on to the dragon's back because he didn't have a saddle at the time. And he uses that to sneak attack. While riding the dragon's tail, he uses the dragon's tail as, like, a launcher to do a sneak attack at the Shade. There's killing him, and that's pretty much the end of the movie, right? So, I don't know. Like, this movie, at the time, I could see why people hated it, because, like, you know, people had, like, Star Wars fatigue from the prequels. The prequels sucked, and then here comes this movie that's like a rip-off of Star Wars that's not very competent at times. But I don't know, I really enjoyed the movie despite its failings, which I'll get into that. First I'll go into pros. Cool characters and weapon design. Zarok, which Men at Arms, which is this YouTube channel that makes, like, fantasy and anime video game weapons. They have a video where they make the sword from this movie, but they have it labeled as Brizinger, when in the movie the sword is called Zarok. Brizinger is like the spell for fire. So I don't know how they could make that fuck up. I'm sure there's a shitload of people in the comments section that calls him out, or it could be that in the book it's called Brizinger and they changed the name, whatever. So, like, you have cool character design and weapon design in the movie, cool magic system, even though that's a rip off from Earthsea. The CGI dragon looks good, especially since it was like 2006 when the CGI wasn't that great. And, like, there's a scene where, like, the dragon gets wounded, and, like, Brahm is putting, like, Slav, like, this healing Slav on its wing, and it looks pretty, like, practical. It doesn't look fake at all. Sorry, what I meant to say, looks realistic, doesn't look fake at all. Great performance from Jeremy Irons. Yeah, Jeremy Irons, for people who don't know, he was the villain in, like, Dungeons & Dragons, and he really fucking hammed up his performance in that movie, which I saw that Dungeons & Dragons movie, that and the sequel, like, a year or two ago. I have it in storage, that's why I didn't review it for this, for Fantasy Month. His performance in that movie, while at the same time saves the movie, that shitty movie, it's still bad, where here he does a more grounded performance, a more subtle performance, and it's really good. I feel like this was him trying to redeem himself from that shitty performance he did in that, you know, shitty Dungeons and Dragons movie. So Jeremy Irons' performance was fucking great in this movie. Okay, dragon armor. Cool Dragon Rider fight at the end. I already mentioned that. So, cons. According to people who are fans of the books, this is a terrible adaptation. One of the, like, Arya is supposed to be, like, an elf in the movie, but they didn't put, like, elf ears on her for some fucking reason. Even though, also, there's supposed to be, like, dwarves and elves in this movie as well, but there aren't any. And they do reference them. And also, The Urgal are supposed to be ogres, and obviously they just look like, you know, big fat guys with, you know, tattoos and shit. So, like, it's considered a terrible adaptation by the fans. Bad dialogue at times, rips off Star Wars heavily. Bad performance from Malkovich, though he's not even in the movie that much. Dragon grows up too quickly. Literally, he takes his baby dragon, which the baby dragon does look cute. He takes his baby dragon outside to have it fly for the first time, and it instantly grows to adulthood. Yeah. MC goes from terrible fighter to good after one train scene. Though the movie kind of implies there was like train scenes and like off screen, but I still felt that's kind of retarded. He teaches him some magic on screen, like he teaches him like the fire spell and like the tree spell, and then like later we see him use magic spells that weren't taught to him. So it's like he was obviously taught magic spells off screen. At the final act of the movie, Durzel looks like the Emperor. Also, they made they made armor for the main character without telling him, and like without measurements. Which, if you know anything about armor, you need to take measurements. But then again, maybe somebody looked at it and was able to figure it out. A character like Garrett Hudlin's character shoots 3 arrows at once, and all 3 arrows hit their targets, right? During the final battle. I was in the archery, and I was told, never fucking do that, because you'll be lucky if 1 arrow hits its mark, and the other 3 arrows will go fucking wild. Which I did that in my backyard once. And one arrow hit its mark, 1 arrow hit the shed, and 1 arrow buried itself into the fucking ground. I couldn't fucking find it. So that's really fucking stupid. And also, there's a really shitty pop song at the credits. But other than that, I really enjoyed this movie. I think this movie, time kind of saved it, because like we have so many shitty like fantasy movies out there, shitty Star Wars movies now, that like where like movies like this that were trash back in the day, I look at it now and it's like, wow, this is way better than like the shit we have today. So I'm giving it a 6.5 out of 10. Alright, that's the end of my review, and tomorrow, for the finale of Fantasy Month, we're going to review Ubel Blatt by, I have the book upside down, by Itoruji Shiono, published by Yen Press. Alright,